is spending Veterans Day with his family after returning home from a deployment to the Mideast aboard the USS Enterprise. The aircraft carrier, a 300-acre woods fire in Tennessee, continues to send heavy smoke into Haywood County. The blaze is burning in cotton, the wet stuff, and the man who can tell us if any is on the way is Gary Stevenson. What about that, Gary?
An unfortunate forecast in just a few minutes. Heather?
Thanks, Gary. A halfway house for convicts in Haywood County continues to spark heated debates. Residents from Waynesville's Arrington Acres say they'll stop at nothing to prevent the Haywood Restoration House from building in their backyards. News 13's Candace at his church today.
That's right, Heather, and Candace Little, News 13.
Thanks, Candace. Well, still ahead on News 13, Santa makes an early visit to kids at a local television premiere of perhaps the most powerful World War II film of all time, Saving Private Ryan. There's also a remarkable Holocaust exhibit on display in Asheville right now. And if your children are in middle school, there's a good chance that they've already seen it. It tells the story of Anne right after Saving Private Ryan. Pretty powerful stuff.
It is. It definitely is. Weather, we would like to see some powerful raindrops.
We would,
but
Gary.
That's not happening. I'll tell you what, let's take a look at the almanac page for today. On Saturday or Sunday and bump temperatures down once again, but it's going to come through dry once again. We just cannot break this pattern. Let's hope maybe next Monday it'll be rainy or something like that. But
rainy days and Monday.
Unless we change this jet stream pattern, it's going to stay dry.
Okay. Thanks, Gary.
All right.
Coming up next in sports, the long
cup, but still those guys trying to tune up and get it going.
scary looking wreck there at the
no doubt.
beginning.
And luckily everybody is okay. At first, you know, it looked a lot worse.
Including the fella that was...
Yeah, Brian Burley did have head injuries, but we last I heard he's in serious condition, but he is okay. He's awake and alert, so that's good.
All right, more on that and the smoke at 11. Right. Coming up next, 'tis the season for Santa. Listen up, finally at 6. He knows when you've been bad or good, and tonight he's close by, taking requests at the Asheville Mall. No, he is actually the real Santa because he is from Santa Land.
Really?
Yeah, so you're going to have to go...
He is Santa.
Yes.
I mean, that's no fake beard or anything. The real stuff.
Well, I mean, when I take the kids, he always comes over to me and says, Gary, let me give you the lowdown on the weather for Christmas Eve. And it impresses my kids. My kids are like, wow, you know Santa. Yes, I do. I know Santa. I also know that the snow will not come tomorrow. Though we would love for any kind of precipitation to come. Upstate South Carolina. So again, no advisories for the forest fires right now, but there is a burning ban still in effect for North Carolina.
Right, and we will be back here at a special time following the movie Saving Private Ryan, but we will be here a little bit later, but it'll be worth the wait, we promise. We'll see you then. Bye. Good evening, I'm Heather Childers. Fire crews are working to contain a forest fire near Interstate 40 and the Blue Ridge Parkway in Buncombe County. About 25 acres have a mayoral candidate forum this Sunday. It starts at 4 p.m. at Asheville Pizza Company on Merriman Avenue, and our very own Frank Crocker will be moderating. Another big honor for one of our area's favorite families.
They just keep on coming. A new chapel is dedicated. At 5:30, a local mayor takes on another job. We'll explain.
And it's one big reason. Well, it is a weekend of music and fun at the Flat Rock Music Festival in Henderson County. To check in with Gary Stevenson for a closer look at our weather forecast. And Gary, I'd say today was pretty good, but was it last night or the night before we had those powerful thunderstorms?
Oh, the night before with that airport. All right, just a couple of thunderstorms around the area today. Any more on the way for Sunday? I've got more on your forecast coming up. Heather?
Thanks, Gary. Well, the FBI sets up an information command post in Charlotte, hoping to catch a California mass murderer, Nikolai Sol.
Closed captioning, sponsored by ProCraft East Liquid Siding.
Congressman Gary Condit tells Newsweek magazine he is very angry at the news media for the way his interview with Connie Chung was handled. Condit says Chung, the winning numbers were drawn for tonight's Powerball drawing. At stake, almost $300 million if someone has all 6 numbers. As ABC's John Berman reports, the drawing caps off a very busy day at lottery outlets in 21 states. Okay, so here we go. I feel like I need a drum roll. Those winning numbers, 8, 17, 22, 42, and 47. And the Powerball number is 21. Again, those numbers are 8, 17, 22, 42, 47, and the Powerball number is 21. The jackpot would be $295 million if there is a winner. And while North Carolina is not a Powerball state, that doesn't mean the winner can't come from here, because I believe thousands drove to states like West Virginia and Kentucky just to play Powerball. but they may not have to drive that far too much longer. Governor Mike Easley is pushing a lottery here in North Carolina to ease the state's budget crunch. In other news, at least one person was killed when a small plane crashed into a house this morning in New Hampshire. That story tops tonight. Live Cinderella story ends with
Friday and Saturday, afternoon highs basically near 80 to the mid-80s, overnight lows, low to mid-60s. And by the way, I've got all those numbers on that lottery. Don't
Do
I
you?
wish.
What are you still doing here?
I wish what I could do with $300 million.
Yeah, I think a couple folks from News 13 may have gone in on a ticket or two, so we'll see if they show up on Monday.
Well, that's true. We may have a winner.
And here's a quick note of a couple of events that are going on tomorrow at the Biltmore Square Mall.
That's right, at 9 a.m., hundreds of motorcyclists will take off the ride for kids to raise money for the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation. And at 5:30, celebrating Women's Equality Day.
Equality Day,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, okay, Equality Day.
News 13's Darcel Grimes will host the event to celebrate the passage of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. So big day tomorrow. Lots of stuff
equality
going
out
on.
there.
Yes.
That's
Coming up next, a Cinderella story. A young single mother who worked as a waitress is now a princess. The 28-year-old married. Next in sports, they were bumping and banging in Britain.
Title tomorrow, and you can see that game right here on ABC and 13 WLOS. Starts at 6:30 tomorrow night. Good luck to Apopka, Florida.
Future big leaguers.
There's been a few that have come through
Yeah.
there. Roger Clemens.
Possibly your little boy one day.
I sure hope so.
Think so? Yeah. Coming up next, a thunder and good time in Asheville. Finally tonight, if you were anywhere near downtown Asheville around noon, you knew Goombay Festival was gearing up for its big day. Throughout the festival, Mike also impressed with that.
Yeah, the stilts thing. You ever try to walk on stilts?
No, I have not.
Ooh, it ain't no easy thing to do.
No. Powerball numbers 8, 17, 22, 42, 47, Powerball number 21. Did you win?
No.
Call us if you did. Families of the victims in the World Trade Center attacks gather at Ground Zero today to remember their lost loved ones. The service was held at the... But first, as families try to find closure, the demand for assistance continues to grow. An Asheville man has had a major role in the relief efforts in Washington, D.C. News 13's Jennifer Durkin brings us that part of the story from our news center. Jennifer? Heather? Thanks, Jennifer. And tonight, there are 2 new cases of inhaled anthrax in female postal workers in New Jersey. Health officials there say the anthrax has been confirmed in one of the women, but she is improving. A second worker is hospitalized with a suspected case based on preliminary test. 2 other workers at the same mail facility are being successfully treated for cases of skin anthrax. At Ground Zero in New York today, families of those lost in the World Trade Center attacks gathered for a memorial service. New York's mayor, the governor, and members of Congress were all there as well, urging those who lost loved ones to let the healing process begin. ABC's Tim Sheld has more on the service. Meanwhile, back at home, almost 100 runners and cyclists hit the streets of Asheville early this morning to raise money for the New York City Firefighters Fund. They all took part in the Fire Bell Biathlon, hosted by the...
Well, several years ago, the historic...
Calmer winds today helped firefighters get 2 mountain brush fires under control. Several hundred expected to continue through the week. Local U.S. Forest Service officers say that the state could issue a burning ban in days to come. That is, if we don't get any of the wet stuff. And the man with the plan that would know whether or not that's going to happen is Gary Stevenson. What about it, Gary?
Heather, it looks pretty dry.
Well, coming up next, learning the basics of...
You know, that's an idea. Next time you move, just have a big moving party with the community involved.
Oh, yeah.
Spring for some pizza.
And T-shirts.
That's a smart idea.
Gary's face on the front.
There you go. I like that. You might not like that. The weather has improved greatly
Yes,
from
we like
yesterday.
that.
It was almost a heat wave, as a matter of fact. Let's take a look.
Hurricane Michelle makes a direct hit on the island of Cuba today. The Category 4 storm is now moving northeast, and it's expected to deliver a glancing blow to South Florida by sometime tomorrow. ABC's Andrew Colton is in Miami, where preparations are underway to face the storm. We need to turn to meteorologist Gary Stevenson, who can tell us what we can expect, if anything, from Hurricane Michelle.
Actually, here the
Close eye on what happens in Florida, because a major hit could deplete the nation's blood supply. They say donations are down after the initial rush to give following the September 11th attacks. As News 13's Jennifer Durkin reports, a major storm and the war on terrorism could cause demand to skyrocket at any time. up as we head into the holiday season. One more factor that could change the blood supply over the next few months. The war on terrorism continues in Afghanistan with attacks on Taliban targets throughout the country. As ABC's John Berman reports, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld is in that region for a first-hand look at the operation. Tobacco farmers could get...
The number of golf courses.
Well, it's beautiful to be outside in Western North Carolina.
It really is. As a matter of fact, we had a beautiful weekend. Let's go to what it's going to be like tomorrow. That is good news. Just going to graze them, then head out into the Bahamas and weekend.
All right. And that is News 13 for tonight. Now this editorial from our parent company, the Sinclair Broadcast Group.
To beat them twice to win it.
And I'm glad we got those highlights
I am
in.
too. Yeah.
Good job.
Okay.
Coming up next, Biltmore goes back to the roaring 20s with an old-time trip back to the time of flappers, hot jazz, and the Charleston. Fun?
Yeah, exciting. No television back in those days.
Possible rain showers this evening?
Yes, she changes the subject on me. Let's go to the radar picture right now. That's right.
And we'll see you back here at 11. Good evening, I'm Heather Childers. Hundreds of local high school seniors closed a chapter in their lives today. They graduated. But for one student, it wasn't all about tossing his cap. It was the climax of his fight to get a diploma he feels he deserves. News 13 has been following the story of Adam Cox, a special needs student at Irwin High School who was denied a diploma because he couldn't pass a state competency exam. Jennifer Durkin was at Irwin's graduation today and has more. Adam struggles with math, and that's the portion of the test he failed by only 5 points. Adam can retake the state competency test, by the way, until he is 21. New tonight, Manna Food Bank held its second annual Blue Jean Ball, and it was a huge success. And a silent auction inside the Manna Food Bank warehouse. Well, some Buncombe County inmates spent their Saturday helping to clean up a local park. Buncombe County deputies and county folks gathered on the island in Marshall for the 4th annual River Fair. Continued today with people hitting local waterways, streets, and trails. Sports Festival continues tomorrow, and the River Link Triathlon is tomorrow. Join us for that, for morning coverage, live at the Biltmore Estate 15K on News 13 this weekend. Time now to check in with Gary Stevenson for a look at our weather forecast. Gary, things a little rocks. The children come out. Over between police and 5 children holed up in their family home in Idaho. For 5 days, authorities tried to coax them out, and tonight, finally, success. ABC's Steve Futterman shows us how it ended. A thunderstorm in Fort Lauderdale turns deadly after a 30-year-old